attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Next verse. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vasudeva, the other. So, this invocation was also so beautiful, glorifying Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and why we need to hear regularly, and how it will help us develop love for Krishna. So, thank you, Daksha, for giving me the opportunity to absorb in this Srimad Bhagavatam, learn something whatever I can hear from the devotees, and then share whatever I understood and realized a little bit. I don't have the full realization of what I am speaking, but whatever realization I have, I will share with you. So, first of all, credits wherever they are due. I heard a couple of classes from Bhakti Rasayan Sagar Maharaj and also Bhakti Dhira Damodar Swami Goswami Maharaj, and also read our Bhagavad Gita purport from Srila Prabhupada, and also the relevant verses from Bhagavad Gita. That was my preparation. So nothing is coming from directly from me. And of course, whatever realizations I have is coming from my Guru Maharaj and the Prabhupada teachings. So first, the way we do it is, this is a very nice verse. We'll read Bhagavatam. The verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 15, and text number 15. So the chapter number 15 is titled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. This is the 7th canto. It's such a beautiful verse. We'll read the verse and then go from there. Dharmardham api neheta.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yatartham vadano dhanam. Anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida. One more time. Dharmartham api neheta yatartham vadano dhanam anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida. One more time. Dharmartham api neheta yatartham vadano dhanam anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida.
Dharmartham api neheta yatartham vadano dhanam anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida.
Dharmartham api
neheta
yatrartham vadano dhanam
anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida.
Dharmartham api neheta yatartham vadano dhanam anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida.
Dharmartham api neheta yatartham vadano dhanam anihani hamanasya mahaheriva vrittida.
So we'll go to word for word meaning.
Dharma ardham
in religion or economic development.
In religion or economic development.
Api
indeed.
Na
Not
iheta,
iheta,
should try to obtain,
should try to obtain,
yatrardham,
yathardham,
just to maintain the body and soul together,
just to maintain the body and the soul together,
va, either,
either,
adanaha,
adanaha,
one who has no wealth,
one who has no wealth,
dhanam, money, aniha,
aniha,
the desirelessness,
the desirelessness,
anihamanasya, of a person
who
who does not endeavor even to earn his livelihood,
even to
earn his livelihood.
Mahahe,
the great serpent known as the python,
the great serpent known as the python,
Iva,
like
Vrittida, which obtains its livelihood
without endeavor.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
even if a man is poor, for those who join 7th canto, 15th chapter, 15th verse we are reading. Even if a man is poor, he should not endeavor to improve his economic condition just to maintain his body and soul together, or to become a famous religionist.
Jai. Jai. Jai.
Even if a man is poor, he should not endeavor to improve his economic condition just to maintain his body and soul together, or to become a famous religionist. Just as a great python, although lying in one place, not endeavoring for its livelihood, gets the food it needs to maintain body and soul, one who is desireless also obtains his livelihood without endeavor. Purport. Human life is simply meant for developing Krishna consciousness. One need not even try to earn a livelihood to maintain body and soul together. This is illustrated here by the example of the great python, which lies in one place, never going here and there to earn a livelihood to maintain itself, and yet is maintained by the grace of the Lord. As advised by Narada-muni, Bhagavatam 1.5.18, Tasyeva heto prayateta kovidaha. One should simply endeavor to increase his Krishna consciousness. One should not desire to do anything else, even to earn his livelihood. There are many examples of this attitude. Madhavendra Puri, for instance, would never go to anyone to ask for food. Sukadeva Goswami has also said, Kasmad bhajanti kavayo dhanadurma dhan. Why should one approach a person who is blind with wealth? Rather, one should depend on Krishna, and he will give everything. All the members of our Krishna consciousness movement, whether they be Grihasthas or Sannyasis, should try to spread the Krishna consciousness movement with determination, and Krishna will supply all necessities. The process of Ajagara Vritti, the means of livelihood of a python, is very much appreciated in this regard. Even though one may be very poor, he should simply try to advance in Krishna consciousness and not endeavor to earn his livelihood. Translation one more time. Even if a man is poor, he should not endeavor to improve his economic condition just to maintain his body and soul together, or to become a famous religionist. Just as a great python, although lying in one place, not endeavoring for its livelihood, gets the food it needs to maintain body and soul, one who is desireless also obtains his livelihood without endeavor. So, this is a nice section. So we'll briefly, the way we'll do it is we'll briefly discuss the context where we are, because we are coming once a week. So overall context of Bhagavatam where we are, and then this particular section where we are, and this particular verse. Then we go into the actual verse that what Prabhupada is sharing with us. So we can go to that meaning. So overall, we know Srimad Bhagavatam is a Mahapurana that has Puranas. Generally Puranas have at least 5 topics, and Mahapuranas have 10 topics that they cover. So out of the 10 topics that are described in Bhagavatam, there is a verse in 2nd canto, 10th chapter, 1st verse that describes all the 10 topics like creation, sub-creation, Ashraya, Krishna as a shelter, Manvantara, different Manus, like that different 10 topics are there. Out of that, 7th canto is primarily focusing on one topic called Uti. Uti is also called inclination. So it's not that seventh canto is only covering Uti and it doesn't have other topics. It's not like that. Other topics are also there, but the main focus is there on this Uti topic. That's how our acharyas explain. So Uti inclination means in the overall scheme of seventh canto, inclination can be positive inclination or negative inclination. So positive inclination means something that leads to auspicious results, and negative inclination means something that results to inauspicious results. So we know seventh canto is mainly talking about the pastime of Hiranyakasipu and Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee. So in that context, acharyas explain the positive inclination example is Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj engages the inclination nicely so that is result to auspicious result, which is obtaining the love of Krishna and obtaining the shelter of Krishna. And on the contrary, Hiranyakasipu did use the negative inclination to engage in demoniac activity, the activity that is not pleasing to Krishna, the activity that takes one away from Krishna. There is a purpose for everything, but in this context, that is how it is explained. Negative inclination results. What is the result of negative inclination, and what is the result of positive inclination? The Uti. That is the overall topic of seventh canto. And seventh canto, very broadly, can be divided into two subsections overall. There are totally 15 chapters in seventh canto. First 10 chapters are glorifying the pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti. And the next 5 chapters are describing how bhakti is performed in a mixed way, mixed bhakti. That's a very broad description. 10th chapters and the last 5 chapters. So we are in the 15th chapter, which is the end of the 7th canto completely. So that's the other way to look at 7th canto. And then in the overall Bhagavatam, it's interesting to know what is the flow. How did we end up here? So we know Bhagavatam is primarily conversations between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and that conversation being studied by Sutta Goswami and the sages in Navisharanya, like that, right? So when these devotees are conversing, they are again referring to the past times and that have been done in the past, the histories that are discussed in the past, what great devotees like Narada Muni and Yudhishthira Maharaj discussed in the past, or Vidura and Maitreya Muni discussed in the past, like that is Goswami. So 7th canto, how it starts is, Parikshit Maharaj was inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami because he heard the previous, in the 6th canto, there is a description about Chitraketu and Vitrasura being killed, like that. So then also a description about Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha briefly. So Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj asked the question, then how come Supreme Lord Krishna is equal to everyone? How come he is taking the side of demigods and killing the demons? That's how he asked the question. Then to explain that, Sukadeva Goswami starts describing the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. Why does he go there? Because he wants to show that Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha were originally devotees in the Vaikuntha planet as Jaya Vijaya. I'm not going to all that pastime because this is the context I'm giving. So then, because they came and in a particular situation they came, and then Krishna engaged in the battle with them and to protect his devotee Prahlad, like that he explains the whole Prahlad Maharaj pastime for the first 10 chapters of the 7th canto. Then at the 11th chapter beginning, he explains that pastime, and then in between Yudhishthira Maharaj asks a question. Then actually he refers to a pastime that happened in Dwapar Yuga, where Yudhishthira Maharaj is performing the Rajasuya Yajna. So he refers to that. And in that, what happens is that in that Rajasuya Yajna, one of the first things that happens in Rajasuya Yajna after welcoming everybody is that they recognize one person as the head of the assembly. So that they can honor him and respect him and worship him. So Pandavas select Lord Krishna as the head, who needs to be respected and worshipped and glorified. So then one envious personality in the assembly, Shishupala, So Shishpala actually is very envious of Krishna. We know he attacked Krishna so many times with so much of king rules, soldiers, and then Krishna killed all of them, but he spared most of the times so that he can bring more impressed people, so he can complete his job like that. So Shishpala starts blaspheming Krishna in the middle of everybody. So then Krishna waits patiently for him for some time, and then because he gave a word to his aunt, to Shishpala's mom, that he will not kill him unless he blasphemes certain number of times, like 100 or 108 times. So he patiently waits, and then when he reaches the limit of his sinful activity, blaspheming, then he kills him with his chakra, Krishna, right in the middle of the assembly. Only Supreme Lord can do that. So when they're assembled for doing the yajna. So when Shishpala is killed, many people observe that the soul represented like a lamb is coming out of Shishpala's body and then going to Lord Krishna's body before everybody. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj is astonished. What is this? Shishpala is so envious. He's been blaspheming Krishna, he's been wanting to fight Krishna, wanting to kill Krishna. How come he achieved this result? Like that he asked. Then that's where discussion between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Narada. So that's why it resulted in whole Prahlad Maharaj pastime. So after that, hearing the Prahlad Maharaj pastime, Yudhishthira Maharaj asked the question in 11th chapter. What does he ask? So, okay, Prahlad Maharaj is nice devotee. So we heard nice pastimes of pure devotees. No, everybody is not like that. I'm paraphrasing it. Everybody is not like that. So please describe about Sanatana Dharma, that is eternal Dharma for everyone, and also Varnashrama Dharma. So everybody in different situation can practice bhakti. So these two questions he asked. So when he asked these two questions, then Narada Muni describes different Varnashrama duties, and like for brahmacharis, for vanaprasthas, sannyasis, and then he goes to grihasthas. So grihasthas, the previous chapter was about grihasthas, 14th chapter, and that theme is continuing about grihasthas in this life. Grihastha means people who are married, right? So then in this chapter also is continuing about grihasthas. But this chapter is titled The Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Basically, it is describing how we all grihasthas can perform our activities, what we can do, but still with the aim of pleasing Krishna and developing devotion while we are doing whatever prescribed duties we are doing in this world. So that is the context of how we came to this chapter. So in this chapter, Narada Muni is describing two main themes. First thing he described is what are the different religions. First he describes like how to do Shraddha ceremony, like that, some basic duties based on Vedic principles. Then he describes what are the different 5 types of religion one should avoid. That was that section ended just the previous verse, 14th verse. So the 5 kinds of religion that should be avoided. Now, after that is transitioning to how do we be satisfied by engaging in devotional service and doing prescribed duties simultaneously. So that is the topic is starting now in this section. How to be satisfied. So in that context, is introducing the topic now. So there is this verse, which is essentially saying we should not endeavor for economic conditions, just to maintain the body. We should not waste our life only for that. That is one. And then, if we depend on Krishna, even if we don't have desires, our livelihood also will come without much endeavor. That is the essence of this verse. So let us take a look at a few things in this verse. So basically what he's saying is, this doesn't mean that we all stop our work, stop jobs, stop not doing our duties. It doesn't mean that. But what it means is, our consciousness should be dependent on Krishna. That Krishna is the provider for us. Krishna is giving us. Krishna is giving everything. Whatever we are getting materially, whatever our intelligence is there, Krishna has given us. Whatever ability in the body, Krishna has given us. whatever we can think with the mind, Krishna has given that capability. Whatever intelligence we can use, that also Krishna has given us. So that's the main thing being stressed. That means, be in the consciousness that Krishna is the provider, Krishna is the maintainer, Krishna is the protector. That is one main thing. Second thing is, when we are in that consciousness, Krishna is so wonderful and kind that he will provide everything needed for us without much endeavor. That's the other aspect being described. And third aspect is that when we are not spending all our energy in getting money, getting this, doing this, taking care of that, and all our consciousness in that only, we divert that to focus on Krishna and the goal of life and Krishna consciousness. To serve Krishna with whatever we have in our proposal, and including whatever intelligence we have and whatever resources we have. We consider how to use them in Krishna's service. So this is the crux. We'll get into the details, but the crux is this, that understanding Krishna's position as a provider, maintainer, protector, develop that consciousness, and then engage our energies, including intelligence, instead of in developing, getting money, engage in serving Krishna with whatever resources we have. That's the crux of this whole verse. So we'll get into some of the details. Bhakti Samaraj was giving a nice approach to approach this topic, so I liked it, so let us try that one. So I was sharing that basically work is done at different levels. People are at different levels, because this section is all about Varnashma section. So Shudras, they depend on work from boss. That means they don't know how to make decisions. So what they do, my boss says, my master says something, I'll do that. My master says do this, I'll do that. My master says don't do this, I don't do that. So they're fully dependent on the boss. It's not a bad thing, but that is the way they are. Because the Varnashma system is based on guna and karma. Our qualities, modes of nature, and also what actions we could perform. Like that, right? So that is Shudras. And then next level is Vaishyas. Vaishyas, what they can do, so before that, Shudras have a lowest level of responsibility wise. That means they're not taking care of somebody else. They're worried about how to take care of myself only. For that only they need help from master. Right? Next level is Vaishyas. Vaishyas, what they're doing, they have a little bit more higher responsibility. Means they're not working for somebody. Vaishyas means main work of Vaishyas we hear from Bhagavatam is Krishi Goraksha. That means agriculture, taking care of animals like cows. That's the main activity. And then they trade whatever comes from the animal products like that. That's the main function of Vaishyas, right? Production of animals and agriculture. So Vaishyas, what they're doing, they're not depending on master for their duties, occupation, but they're in turn giving work to somebody else. Because when they're doing agriculture, they're giving work for some Sudras to work and help. So they're guiding them also in their duties. So in that sense, they have a little higher responsibility. That is the point we need to take. Okay? Then, that is the second. Next level is Kshatriyas. What are Kshatriyas doing? Kshatriyas have even more higher responsibility they are taking. How? Because they are responsible for not people who are working in the farm like Vaishyas, but they are responsible for a whole kingdom. Lot of citizens in the kingdom. That means they are guiding the citizens how to lead their life to go back to Krishna, ideally a devotee king. So they have a higher responsibility. They are using like that. So that is the other thing to note. Similarly, and Brahmanas. So if you notice, the responsibility is increasing as you go up, and the amount of work they do physically, hard work wise, is reducing also. They are doing more smart work as you go up, using more intelligence more and more. Okay, that is the thing. That is the theme. So and then when you go to Brahmanas, then what they are doing, they are guiding Kshatriyas. That means they have higher responsibility, because Kshatriyas are already guiding so many citizens, ruling citizens and take care of kingdom. So Brahmanas are guiding the Kshatriyas themselves. That way, it's even more higher responsibility, and they are utilizing influence in higher way. But now we are reading 7th canto, 15th chapter, 15th verse. So Brahmanas are doing the higher responsibility like that. So then that means lesser hard work. Then above Brahman, we know among Brahmanas, highest among Brahmanas is Vaishnava. Vaishnava is one who is worshipping Vishnu. So when Vaishnavas, what they do, they help even Brahmanas. So that means Vaishnavas are helping Brahmanas, Brahmanas are helping Kshatriyas, Kshatriyas are helping Vaishyas, Vaishyas are helping Sudras, like that. So Vaishnavas are guiding Brahmanas. So that means they have even more higher responsibility. And the theme one time is that responsibility is increasing based on the level where we are in the current life, in the current condition we have. And then they are doing lesser hard work and more smarter work. It's not a derogatory thing between the Varnas and Ashramas, but it is an indication of how intelligence needs to be utilized. So, in that context, what we are understanding is, when we engage our intelligence primarily for engaging in service of Krishna, in devotion service, then our intelligence is rightly engaged. That means we are doing the smart work, not hard work. So, that is the best way to engage our intelligence, to engage in service of Krishna. That means, we also hear many times from Prabhupada talking that our human life is very valuable because this is the only life where we are given intelligence to understand answers to questions like why we are here, what is the purpose of our life, how do we go back to Godhead, how do we be happy permanently, like that. These are the answers we can get. So this energy we need to utilize not to see how we can improve our material situation in one way or the other. The material situation improvement can be by getting more money, or by getting more followers, or by getting more enjoyment, like that. So that energy, instead of utilizing like that, utilizing Krishna consciousness. Okay? I am repeating the theme in between so that it is clear for all of us. And then a couple of examples Bhakti Rasan Sagar Maharaj was giving, which I felt is important, helpful to understand this higher responsibility is smarter work. So when there is a cook, is there somebody called a hungry cook? Hungry cook? No, because cook means he is cooking food for others. When he is cooking food for others, there is no chance that he will be hungry, most of the time at least. So, like that, is there a poor banker? Somebody, in the olden days, somebody used to manage money for everybody, like that. Poor banker, there is no such concept as poor banker, because he is handling all the cash, like that. So, in the similar way, what is happening in these two examples is, cook is cooking for others. That means when you are taking higher responsibility to serve others, then we don't worry too much or endeavor too much at taking care of ourselves. That is taken care. That is what he is sharing in this example. So that means when we are doing the highest responsibility of serving Krishna, then Krishna will take care of us. That we see it from so many Shastri examples. And even Bhagavad Gita, Krishna directly says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyamam. Ananjas Chintamanto Mam, verse, he talks about 9th chapter, 22nd verse. So that means when somebody worships me, that verse I'm paraphrasing, when somebody worships me and takes complete shelter of me totally, then I preserve what they have and I give them what they lack. So that's what that verse is telling. That means we don't need to worry too much about what will happen to me, like that. So that is what is showing. And we can discuss some of the Shastri examples, like Bhakti Damodar Maharaj was quoting these examples. So one of them is actually Madhavendra Puri example here that is given, Prabhupada also is given. So this is talking about first of all we are talking about the highest examples, and then we will come to our level also, how we can practice. So Madhavendra Puri is a topmost devotee, he is in a Brahmadya Gaudiya Sampradaya, our Sampradaya. He is like Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master is Ishwara Puri, his spiritual master is Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri, his practice is so higher that he would not cook anything, he would not ask, even beg anything from anyone. So I don't remember all the different levels of sannyasa, but there are some levels of sannyasa. One of the level is that they take food from somebody, And then another level is that they go madhukari, that is going home to beg foods, not for food primarily, to give them knowledge also, to give them devotion that way. That's another level. The highest level is they don't ask for any food anywhere. If Krishna sends them something, they accept it, otherwise no. So Madhavendra Puri was in this highest level devotion and renunciation also. So in that connection, even there are examples where Krishna came and gave him kheer and Ksherochora Gopida pastime, like that. So that is one example we know. Even when we depend fully on Krishna, Krishna gives us everything we need. Right? So then another pastime we can think about is that Mrigari the hunter. You might know this pastime also. Mrigari the hunter is a hunter in the forest. What he used to do, he used to hunt the animals, and he had a very bad practice, which is not kill them completely, but half kill them, and he used to get pleasure being in the situated mode of goodness, is getting pleasure by seeing the animals suffer in that painful condition. He learned this from his father, so he is continuing this for his livelihood. That means this is how he used to earn his livelihood. So now Narad Muni is a great devotee who helped so many people in the past. We hear so many pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Narad Muni meets Mrigari the hunter, and then he tells him, so this is sinful activity. I'm summarizing it because of the time. Basically, he enlightens him to indicate him that it's sinful activity and you will get karmic reactions for it. Instead, you focus your intelligence and endeavor in devotional service. And when you do that, then your livelihood is taken care of. Then Mrigari the hunter says, how can I live? Because this is the only way I live. Just put faith in me, it will happen. So then Mrigari the hunter even leaves the bow and arrow in the lake. So then what he does, now he practices what Narad Muni instructions he gave. So Narad Muni instructions he gave, he practices devotional service, chanting, devotional service, like that he does. And then what happens is, some people in the forest or close to village also, they notice that Mrigari is practicing devotional service. They come and give him a food, like that. So basically what is coming out of this story is, in the previous story is, the livelihood is taken care of by Krishna when we completely dedicate. That is what is coming out from here. So like that we hear many pastimes where Krishna will take care of us fully. So as a practicing devotee, we can cultivate this consciousness. The consciousness that we can cultivate is basically, one thing is, by doing devotional service, we get everything. All the qualities, all consciousness. That is clear. However, we need to do some endeavor from our end to cultivate also. That's what our acharyas describe while doing devotional service parallelly. Because devotional service by chanting, hearing, reading is purifying our heart. So, and Krishna is pleased with that devotional service and is giving the right qualities, right consciousness needed, right things needed for our maintain this body together, all body and soul together also, and to go back to him also. So he's giving everything through that. So that's the consciousness. Some of the qualities and consciousness we can develop are like seeing that when we are able to achieve something, when we are able to do something, when we are able to get some result, be grateful to Krishna that he arranged somehow that result came to us in happiness. That means we need to start developing. I don't have this full realization. I'm also practicing. But basically the cultivation we can do is, so because Krishna gave me this intelligence at the right time for this, I got this result. So we need to understand that the intelligence is coming from Krishna. Similarly, the circumstances become favorable for us to get that result. So we need to understand that Krishna helped me to make this situation favorable so I can achieve this result. Like that. Or sometimes many people help us. So we see them, we need to be grateful to them, that person. And also we need to be grateful for that person being an instrument of Krishna also. Not just stop there. That means we need to recognize that Krishna is helping me through this person. That doesn't minimize that person's help. but that also glorifies this person, that he is the instrument in Krishna's service. So we can see that Krishna's hand in whatever achievements we get, whatever happiness we achieve, like that. That is one cultivation of consciousness we can do. Another cultivation of consciousness we can do is understand this concept that Prabhupada discussed many times in Bhagavatam, first canto, and Bhagavad also, that in this life we all get our quota of happiness and suffering based on what we have done in the past. That means if I do lots of things, lots of different things, lots of different ideas, use lots of endeavor I don't get too much happiness. I get whatever I'm allotted to. I don't have that full realization yet, but I'm sharing what Prabhupada shares with us. So that is one thing. How we can understand this concept, Prabhupada describes. Because we don't want suffering, but we get some problem or the other all the time, right? So that means whether we want it or not, we are getting suffering. Sri Jagannath Baladev Sudra ki jai, Sri Radha Madhav ki jai, Tagore Sundar ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. So whether we want it or not, we are getting the suffering. That is clear. So when we understand that, then we can understand whether we want it or not, we'll get the right amount of happiness. That will get. So like that. And another thing that is second consciousness. That means I don't need to endeavor too much to increase my happiness or decrease my suffering. Because if you analyze, most of us, the formula for many of people's life is this. I want to increase the happiness to the maximum possible, and I want to reduce my suffering to the lowest possible. That is the formula most people are working on. Whether they know it or not, that is the formula. And sometimes it's summed up in enjoyment. How do you enjoy more? That's basically this is what is happening. So instead of endeavoring in these things, we put the minimum endeavor based on our current level, because each of us has certain needs to even practice Krishna consciousness peacefully. For example, a sannyasi can practice Krishna consciousness with minimum needs. As a grihastha, at our level, we can practice Krishna consciousness with more needs. For example, we need to have a peaceful job to work and some money to earn and some comforts in home. We need. Without that, we cannot practice Krishna consciousness at our current state. Though we heard about Madhavendra Puri example where they don't need anything, they still practice Krishna consciousness, right? So like that, at our level we have some needs, but don't increase the needs and increase the complexity in our life. Understand, try to realize, is this really needed for my Krishna consciousness? Is this really needed in my life? Can I do without it? Like that, we need to evaluate whenever making any decisions in our life. Whenever we're trying to buy something, whenever we're trying to do another certification exam or another conference we go to, whatever it is, what is needed, or another promotion we're thinking about, whatever is needed. How does it affect my Krishna conscious journey towards Krishna? We see that perspective, then we endeavor only for that needs, not too much more than that. And then we practice Krishna consciousness. That's the other consciousness we can cultivate. And then another thing, remember we talked about don't worry about reducing suffering, but how will we come to reality with that? Because no one wants to suffer. I don't want to suffer. I don't want any pain, right? So how do we improve our consciousness and how do we improve our knowledge from scriptures in such a way that we don't endeavor to reduce suffering? So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. By hearing and reading regularly and by engaging in devotional service, we'll develop satisfaction with wherever we are. That doesn't mean that complacency, that I don't want to grow anymore. But we develop some satisfaction in the mind and heart with the devotional service. Because of that, we're not too much hankering to reduce the suffering or increase the happiness through material means. So that is another consciousness, another understanding we can cultivate. We can see in our own life how that is happening. We can compare ourselves 10 years before how I was. Before Krishna consciousness, how I was. At the beginning of Krishna consciousness, how I was. Right now, how I am. So how we are growing. When we see that, then we can understand the satisfaction that Krishna is giving us. So the taste Krishna is giving us, even though it's not taste like Mahabharata, that's a very high stage. But whatever level, we have some taste for the holy name, for devotion service, or for Krishna, serving Vaishnavas, like that. So we can understand that, and then that will help us, that satisfaction in devotion service will help us not to hanker after happiness, or not to hanker after reducing suffering. So that is one more condition. Another thing is, we can also understand how suffering is helping us. This is strange. Suffering, how nobody thinks suffering helps us, right? But as Krishna conscious practicing devotees, our goal is to serve Krishna, no matter what situation. Other way to say the same goal is go back to Krishna and serve him. That's the other way to say the same goal. So then, to do that, what needs to happen? We should be completely pure, right? Because to associate with fire, we need to be fire. Prabhupada says that. Similarly, to associate with Krishna, we need to become pure. So that way, we can associate with Krishna regularly, eternally, like that. We enjoy full bliss with him. So, to do that, what are stopping us now? Primarily, we're all here because of the past karmas. So, Prabhupada describes many times, and Bhagavatam describes also. We'll get the next body based on what activities we did in this and previous lives, and based on what desires we have. Right? So that brings to the point in the purport, translation, there is a word of desireless. Who is desireless also obtains his livelihood without endeavor. So, when they are talking about desireless here, is not talking about not having any desires, because that is impossible. As a spirit soul, we all have desires, and we all desire for something. But what is described here is not desiring material things, but desiring spiritual things. That's what is being described. So even in Rupa Goswami Nectar of Instruction, we hear about Laulyam in the second verse of Laulyam also. Similarly, greed is described. We should not have desires for material things, but we can have desires for spiritual things. It is advised to have desires. We can advise to grow in devotion. We can desire to grow in devotion. We can desire to serve Vaishnavas. We can desire to serve Krishna in the right capacity. All the desires are nice, and we can desire for purifying our heart with all the material desires we have. Like that, desires can be done. So basically, what I was telling is, so based on the desire and based on the karma we have, we are getting next level, right? So to break this cycle of birth and death, what we can do is, what we need to do is not accumulate the new karma. This is the fundamental Krishna consciousness 101 we learn. Not accumulate the new karma, and we need to burn out the old karma. Old karma means whatever pious activities we did in the past, for that we are getting some pious reactions of that. That means some enjoyment we get. And whatever sinful activity we did, or the suffering we created to cause to somebody else, we do enjoy, we do suffer for it. So positive karma, negative karma I am calling it. So when we do devotion service, that we understand from Bhagavatam, that's called akarma, right? So when we do akarma, then what is happening? We're not accumulating any new karma, and then we're burning up these positive credits and negative credits both also. That's a good thing, because when we have that zero, we go back to Krishna. In that sense, it's a good thing. So when we see this, when we're enjoying something, when we understand, oh, that's nice. That means I'm not only getting enjoyment for senses currently, but I'm also burning off some positive karma. So when we see, that means I'm getting closer to Krishna. We can be happy like that. That helps. And then when we are having a suffering in our life, then we understand that it is burning some negative karma. That means I'm getting closer to Krishna. We can see that way also. This consciousness helps us to go through the suffering painlessly and happily also. How happily means like this. That's one more way. And so then I will share a couple of more things because the age 40 already. But I would like to hear from all of you also something that you heard today that you can reflect back that you liked, or something you liked on this topic that you want to share with us, that all of us will benefit, like that. So I'll take a few more minutes only to cover some topics. You can also share, yeah, like that. So few more topics. So this, whenever the topic of suffering in devotee's life comes, many of our acharyas quote one verse in Bhagavatam. Many of you might know. It's called Tattenu Kampam verse. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th chapter and 8th verse. So the verse is like Lord Brahma is praying towards Krishna. So that is the context for that verse. So Lord Brahma is praying like this. In essence, I'm paraphrasing. He's praying like this. Basically, whatever suffering comes in my life, I take it that is coming because of my own past activity, past deeds that I did. From that only it's coming. Not because somebody is doing it for me, not because somebody is doing unfair, that's why I'm getting this suffering, not like that. I'm taking responsibility that's coming because of something I did in the past. Whether this life or the past life. I don't know many things that I did in the past life. But we accept it from acharyas. That this is coming because of past life activity or past misdeeds I did. That is one thing to realize. Then, at the same time, that while we are going through suffering, oh, I'm getting this suffering, what to do, how do I solve this, how do I solve this, being entrapped in that only, not doing that, but continuing our devotional service, whatever we are doing, keep doing whatever we are doing, or chanting, hearing, reading, or devotional worship, whatever we are doing, keep doing that. That means, just because I got some suffering, I don't stop my devotional service. Think that after this problem is solved, I do devotional service. Not like that. I continue serving Krishna in whatever, at my capacity, whatever I have today. So when I'm doing like that, that is second thing. First is accepting responsibility that whatever suffering I'm getting is because of my past mistakes. Second is I continue doing my devotional service, not stopping it. Right? And the third is we're eagerly anticipating the mercy coming from Krishna. That means Krishna will bestow his mercy on me. When? That is up to him. But we know that Krishna is very kind. So he will not only bestow mercy for us to go back to him, but he will also take care of our physical needs, emotional needs, whatever we need also he takes care of us. Even though at the highest devotional platform, devotee doesn't expect anything. But at our level, we can see that Krishna is the provider, Krishna is the maintainer, like we talked in the beginning. So Krishna will take care of me. That means eagerly anticipating the mercy of Krishna. So these are the three elements. Taking responsibility of whatever suffering I'm getting because of my past deeds, and then continuously engaging in devotional service, whether I'm becoming happy or suffering, whatever doesn't matter. Continuously engaging in devotional service, and eagerly anticipating Krishna's mercy. So while doing that, the Brahma describes that it becomes a natural claim, like how in India, especially, I don't know about the rules, laws here. In India, elder son gets all the property of the father, right? He doesn't need to do any special endeavor for it. He just gets it. When father passes away, he gets it. Like that. That is the example he is given. Like that, it becomes a natural claim from our father Krishna. That means Krishna will give the mercy for us. And we go back to Krishna and serve him. So this verse is very faith-giving in times of suffering for our lives. Also in times of happiness also we can use it. If you see that happiness of suffering are helping us to go back to Krishna. So that's the consciousness. So I tried to cover many things. There are a lot more things to say, but it's already 8:43. So just to summarize what Krishna is, what Nardamuni is telling in this verse to Yudhishthira Maharaj is that what we have limited, I'm paraphrasing in my own words for simplicity. So we have limited intelligence, limited capacity, limited resources. So instead of engaging all these limited resources we have in trying to earn our livelihood only, that means just to maintain our body or increase the happiness of our body or reducing suffering of our body, instead of only endeavoring there, put the maximum endeavor in serving Krishna through whatever resources we have. That means including our intelligence we use to figure out how to use this particular capacity I have or strength I have, or this particular resource I have in Krishna's service. Like that, we use our intelligence, maximum endeavor we put in Krishna consciousness, and minimize our endeavor in earning livelihood. That doesn't mean stop livelihood, stop working. It means do right amount of work needed. Like that. That means still career, we develop in our career by taking new trainings that are needed, new certifications needed, new skills we learn. That's still going on. And we take care of how to relate with family, how to take care of family, that still we do. But put the maximum endeavor and focus is on Krishna consciousness. So when we do that, then Krishna will give, actually next set of verses talks about satisfaction in the rest of the chapter. So when we engage something in service of Krishna, we'll be satisfied at our mind and heart. So then naturally all the other endeavors on others will reduce. So maximize our endeavor and sadhana towards Krishna. That is the sum and substance for today's session. I'll be happy to hear from any of you some other comments on this topic or something that we all can apply in our life.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's very nice and enlightening, and it's actually inspiring points that you have mentioned in your lecture. One question I have, Prabhu, you mentioned that Vaishnavas helps Brahmanas. So how do we understand, how do we see that where Vaishnavas are helping Brahmanas?
Basically, the Prabhu Bhakti Swami Maharaj did not elaborate on it. So I will share my thoughts only. So it's not coming from scripture or Guru Sadhu. And my thoughts only I will share. So I'm thinking, because we know from Prabhupada's first canto, so Brahmana is somebody who is Brahman realized, but then Vaishnava is somebody who is realized the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. So that means Brahman realization means only Sat feature of the Lord, right? But Bhagavan feature means Sat Chit Ananda feature of the Lord. So the idea of the Vedic evolution is Brahmanas should become Vaishnavas to achieve the perfection of life, right? So in that sense, Vaishnavas are in a higher position because we can give something to somebody only if we have something. So in that sense, when Vaishnavas have the Bhagavan realization, then they can share that with Brahmanas. In that sense, I'm thinking, but it's not coming from Shastra directly. Yeah.
Good point.
That's what I'm thinking. If others can share also, that way, whatever we have, we can give it to others. Like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
See, this Varnashram Dharma, you said 5, right? Shudra, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, and Vaishnavas. But normally this Vaishnavas is not in the picture Varnashram Dharma, right? Anyone can turn into the Vaishnava. Right?
Correct. That's what basically Bhagavad Krishna describes only Chaturvarnam, 4 Varnas only.
Yeah.
So Vaishnavas are in the Brahmana category.
Oh, okay.
So when Shastra is describing some things broadly, they describe categories. And it is wonderful because we cannot do that with our intelligence. For example, all the miseries are described in 3-4 miseries. Miseries caused by one's own body and mind, miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused due to natural disturbances from demigods. So they summed up so nicely miseries. Any problem we have in life, we can sum it up into one of these. Like that, Shastra is very good in categorizing in a simple way, short. So like that, there are 4 categories given, and Vaishnavas are part of Brahmanas. And what you say is a wonderful point also. Actually, it comes repeatedly in our scriptures.
Yeah.
That Shudra can become Vaishnavas.
Yeah.
Brahmana can become Vaishnava. Anyone can become Vaishnava. And we have examples, right? Prithu Maharaj, right? He is king, he became Vaishnava. Like Durga the hunter, he became Vaishnava from Sudra. And then
Valmiki also.
Valmiki, like that. So many examples are there from Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. How they everyone can become devotees. And in fact, even to accept spiritual master also, that's why it said. We don't see what caste they were born caste, or like that, how their body looks, not like that. Based on how much realization they have, spiritual realization, and then how they can share with us so we can understand it. Based on that, we accept spiritual master also. Whether it is coming from Brahmana caste doesn't matter. Vaishnava is the topmost in that sense. And we actually, in this connection, there is an example from Advaita Charya life also. You might have heard that. Haridas Thakur, Advaitacharya was doing a Shraddha ceremony for his father, and at that time the normal custom is described in the previous set of verses also in this chapter. Normal custom is you invite a Brahmana or a couple of Brahmanas and give them prasad of deities. That means you offer food to deities first, Krishna, and then give the prasad to the Brahmanas who came. So he gives that prasada first to Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, birth-wise, he was born in Muslim family, which is called Yavana and Malecha. Yavana means meat eaters, Malecha means those who don't follow Vedic regulations. Like that. But still, because he is chanting the holy name and he is Acharya of the holy name, so he is purified and above everyone. Supramost Vaishnava. So in that sense, he gives it to him like that. So that's a wonderful point. The theme comes repeatedly actually in scripture.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
There is one example about the Tulsidas. In Bhaktamal Granth there is, उसमें लिखा है कि जब वृंदावन में कथा हो रही थी और सब लोग कथा को सुन रहे थे, फिर बाद में प्रसाद देने के लिए पुजारी निकले, तो प्रसाद देते समय सब लोगों के पास, सब लोग आए थे कथा में, वो पात्र लेके आए थे, सब लोगों ने अपना अपना पात्र रखा, सबको प्रसाद मिला। फिर एक वहाँ पे था तो उसके पास पात्र नहीं था, मगर वो इतना उच्च कोटि का वो भक्त था, उसने अपनी जो पादत्राण थी, चाखड़ी थी, जो उसको लिया और वो पादत्राण में उसने उसका प्रसाद ले लिया। तो ये भक्तमाल ग्रंथ में वो ऐसा बताया गया है कि वो सर्वश्रेष्ठ भक्त चुनना चाहते थे, और जैसे कि 108 मन का होता है माला में, तो वो 108 मन का तो होता है, फिर मेरू होता है, सबसे ऊपर वाला मेरू, तो उसकी शोध में वे लोग थे कि कौन ऐसा सबसे श्रेष्ठ भक्त है, सबसे श्रेष्ठ भक्त है। फिर जो वो प्रसाद परोसता था वो आया और बोलता है कि एक ऐसा पागल बैठा हुआ है ना कि उसको पता भी नहीं कि किस तरह से प्रसाद ग्रहण किया जाता है, और उसने अपने जूते में प्रसाद ले लिया। तो जो मेरू ढूंढ रहा था, उस सन्यासी ने बोला, उस साधु ने बोला, उस भक्त ने बोला, बुलाओ बुलाओ उसको। तो बोलता है आपने क्यों इसमें प्रसाद लिया? तो बोलते हैं कि प्रसाद लेते समय ये नहीं देखना चाहिए कि मेरे पास क्या पात्र है, मैं कितना पात्र हूँ इस प्रसाद को, इसलिए, और मेरे पास उस समय कुछ भी नहीं था, इसलिए मैंने इसमें लिया। तो बोलता है मैं उसी को ही मेरू बनाऊंगा, और फिर उसकी माला कंप्लीट हो गई। तो यहाँ पे क्या है कि उच्च कोटि का जो भी है, जिस भी क्षेत्र में, उसको कई कई मर्यादाएं लागू नहीं होती हैं। इसको अनलिमिटेड कहीं पर भी जा सकते हैं, कहीं पर भी आ सकते हैं, कुछ भी कर सकते हैं। तो ये अध्यात्म में तो सबसे ज्यादा वही है कि जात पात नहीं देखी जाती। और आपने बताया कि कई लोग हैं कि ब्राह्मण नहीं, शूद्र है, वो भी तो भक्ति करके आगे बढ़ते हैं। तो इसीलिए हमारे वेदों में कहा गया है कि जन्मना जायते शूद्रः संस्कारे द्विज उच्यते। कोई भी शूद्र जन्म से भी नहीं है, ब्राह्मण भी नहीं है, संस्कार ही तुमको सबसे अच्छा ब्राह्मण बनाता है। तो कभी कभी हमको ये बात पता नहीं होती है, इसलिए हम किसी भी जाति को, किसी भी व्यक्ति को ऊंच नीच की तुलना में तोलते रहते हैं, और उसको तोलते तोलते हमारी भक्ति कम होती जाती है। वो हमको पता भी नहीं चलता है कभी कभी। हम इतने अवेयर नहीं होते कि मैंने उसको बोला कि इसने ऐसा नहीं किया, इसने ऐसा नहीं किया, तो तब मेरा तो डाइवर्जन हो जाता है उसकी निंदा करने में। तो वही आध्यात्मिक जगत में वही देखना है कि कितना अच्छा किसके पास है, ले लो, बटोर लो।
So nice point. I'll summarize it for people who may not know Hindi very briefly.
Yes.
So basically, when somebody is an elevated devotee, irrespective of where he is coming from, we don't see that externally. So they can do even if they are seen doing something non-conventional, we don't criticize them, we don't find fault with them. So that's so, and when we're finding fault with others, then our devotion is reduced. Like that. I'll briefly summarize it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is the point Srimad is sharing. Nice point, Mate. Actually, that is a wonderful, actually, like a fault finding. So the one small thing. So the way to express this, I heard from Acharyas expressing in different way also, slightly. which is how do we guard against this fault-finding tendency, because we all have it, most of us have it in some form or other. How do we guard against this is when we see the value of other person in terms of their devotional consciousness. Not because of they are doing this, they are able to do this, they are not able to do this, not like that. How much devotionally their consciousness is elevated, or how much they are dedicated to Krishna consciousness. It doesn't need to be elevated also. So then we can wait, say this guy is not elevated, I can do whatever I want. Not like so how much they are dedicated to Krishna consciousness. That's enough. Because Krishna is looking at the endeavor more than the result, wherever we are there in our journey, spiritual journey. So if you are seeing that somebody is engaged in Krishna consciousness, that means they are elevated. Obviously there is relative elevation also, relative pure devotion also. But when we appreciate that somebody just being in Krishna consciousness is so great, then we don't minimize them, we don't try to find fault in them, like that. Of course, I don't have that consciousness fully, I need to develop a lot, but I'm just sharing what I heard. Anybody else have any other comments or something to contribute?
I have this question from I've heard in the past, okay, this is reference to another section in the first canto of Bhagavatam, where the Pandavas leave, right? So Dhritarashtra leaves and without telling anyone in the kingdom, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj starts feeling he doesn't know where his uncle is, his aunt is, and then Narad Muni again comes and gives him an advice. And he gives kind of similar chastising advice to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He says that Lord can take care of everyone. He has arranged everything, food for us. We were discussing this last week, right?
Yeah.
Ahastani, Sahasthanam. He says one living entity will have to depend on another. So Dhritarashtra, even if he goes to forest, he will get fruits and vegetables, so he will survive. So why again Narad Muni is again giving instructions, or this was before? This is my question.
Oh.
So that is when the Pandavas were about to leave, but this one is when Shishupal was killed. Yudhishthira Maharaj asked questions, and which happened when? So this happened before Krishna left and the Pandavas left, or no? My question is, Yudhishthira Maharaj is a very elevated soul.
Right.
So Narad Muni is coming and repeatedly giving similar instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj.
Okay, got it. So I think I understood the question. I'll rephrase the elements of the question in my words, see if you got it. So one is, Yudhishthira Maharaj is so elevated, but he is getting repeatedly similar instructions multiple times. That is one element of the question. Second element of the question is, chronologically, which came first, which incident came first, that Narad Muni is giving like that, right? So I don't know the answer to the chronological question, because Prabhu might know, but basically Bhagavatam is not chronological.
It's,
like,
it's non-linear.
No, yeah, like that. So I do not know also, I don't know Mahabharata well also to understand that. Do you know that, Prabhu, by any chance, chronologically?
I don't know, but I think the first time Bhishmadev instructed Yudhishthira Maharaj when he was very sad, many people died in the battlefield. So Krishna took him to the battlefield.
Yeah.
So Bhishmadev also spoke many topics.
Right.
Raj Dharma, Stri Dharma, Pati ka Dharma, Iska Dharma, sab bataya उन्होंने. But this one is after when they were doing this Rajasuya Jagya. So Krishna killed Sisupal. So Yudhishthira Maharaj could see that the soul is merging into Krishna's body. So he was very surprised, and then he asked. Then this Sisupal is a simple person. Whole life criticized Krishna, blaspheme him, and he get this kind of salvation. So then he asked. Then Narad Muni instructed him, and it's not the first time and last time. Many times Narad Muni was visiting them. So even Vidura also he was instructed many times. So I don't know which one is the first time. And
So I can do the first one. So repeated interesting thing. I know I heard something about it. So basically, but closing the chronological thing, I don't know, but we know that Pandavas leaving the planet is the last step, right?
Right.
So that must be last.
Okay.
In that sense, we can logically we can.
Logically we can.
Yeah. Because Rashtriya Yajna was done before Mahabharata,
Yeah.
right?
In Rashtriya Jagya,
No, I
Before
don't know whether
Mahabharata.
so.
Yeah.
Before Mahabharata.
Because for Rashtriya Yajna, Arjuna went everywhere to gain wealth,
Yes,
to do Parama
To
Yajna.
all the kings.
And Krishna was killing all the demonic people before the war, some of them, including Sispal.
no, Rashtriya Jagya was done after
Yeah, it could be
Indra-
after
Indra-
when he
Kurukshetra
became
war.
king.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yudhishthira Maharaj
Yeah,
became
after-
king. Then,
After the war.
so when
Okay.
he became
Yeah.
king, so he became king in Hastinapur. So now the Krishna said that now you have to conquer all the
world.
earthly planet. So all the kings, they have to surrender to you.
All
They
right.
should work under you.
Mm.
So for that you have to do Rashtriya Jagya. So then they went to also to Jarasandh and all. They
Yeah. Thank
freed
you.
the how many, I don't know,
Yeah,
thousands of
thousands
kings.
of kings. Yeah.
They and all different
Yeah.
things. They came. They submissive to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So that was done.
But why repeated instructions?
Why repeated? That is easy, Prabhu, to understand. For our benefit.
For our benefit.
This after Vidura came from pilgrimage, and then he instructed Dhritarashtra that you should not be here, you should just leave.
Mm.
Then he left
Yeah.
after. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj was just lamenting so much. Then Narad Muni came and pacified him.
Mm.
But then they stayed longer because at that time Arjuna went to Dwarka.
Mm.
And when he came back, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj heard that Krishna left this planet, then all the Pandavas left.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu. So other thing to notice that this is a common thing in Bhagavad Gita is described that Arjuna had so much knowledge,
Right.
and so much devotion, but he was put into that circumstance by Krishna so that he can teach us. That's one thing, right? And then second thing, that is one. Second thing to learn from that also is, no matter how much knowledge we have, so how much devotion we have, how many great we are, unless we surrender to spiritual master and take his guidance, we cannot solve our problems. That's the other thing we learn from Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, scripture has many places where one devotee meets another devotee, elevated devotee, they ask questions, even if not that they are asking for information. So there are, by this conversation about Krishna and Krishna's devotees, they get the bhakti from other devotee and they get the realization from other devotee. So we might be discussing the same topic that we both know. But when we ask a spiritual master or pure devotee, then we get the realization from him and bhakti from him.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And
That
also
makes sense.
for Yudhishthira Maharaj, during his Banvas, when they were exiled in the forest, many times this kind of instruction is given. In Yaksha time also there was discussion of similar topic. And one time this big python, catch Bhima. Then there was some discussion about Brahmana and these things. The Nahus Maharaj, when he became python, some benediction was given to him that when you have discussion with a great personality, you will be free from this body.
Yes.
So that time also Yudhishthira Maharaj and they have some discussion like this. So many times, but still,
And in Gita also it says that even though we know something, but you have to ask pariprasnena sevaya. Because you are getting the different reference and experience and the deep knowledge of that particular subject.
Yeah,
So that's why by knowingly also, not for the information,
Yes.
for the deepness.
Yes, deep realizations are.
this is so that Yudhishthira Maharaj was very compassionate towards their family and Prithvivat Rajana Prabhu. He was like a father to whole his kingdom. So he was very affectionate to his uncle.
Yeah.
So it's not that when he left, he will think, oh, it's good that he left. It's not like that. He was very much morose and compassionate.
Yes.
So the Narad Muni has to come and pacify him. So to pacify him, he has to give some instruction. So don't worry about it. Krishna will take care of it. Krishna is all powerful and this and that. So it's so that he was very caring because he's pure devotee and he's Mahajan. So like that.
Oh, I heard this in one of the lectures that what is the definition of detachment? So detachment means to take fully what is favorable for devotional service and to reject what is unfavorable for devotional service.
Wonderful example, wonderful definition.
So
You heard about Yukta Bharati also similar to that?
yeah, kind of, but in general
Yeah.
for detachment always I get told that, but this I recently heard.
Nice, yeah, wonderful. Actually, this is described it. Other way to look at the same thing is when we accept something favorable for Krishna consciousness, Krishna is pleased.
Yeah.
But when we are rejecting something unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, like sense endeavor, over endeavor, sense gratification, then Krishna is pleased. Then when you have that Krishna in the picture, then it's easy to make choices.
Right.
Oh, when I'm taking this up, Krishna will be happy. Oh, when I'm not doing this, Krishna will be happy. That's also nice. Detachment. Nice example. Thank you.
And when the detachment should come with all the 10 indriyas and mind. Sometimes, okay, I have the fasting and I am not eating, but my mind is there.
Yeah, the food, yeah.
Yeah, so कुछ भी करना है वो 5 कर्मेंद्रिय, ज्ञानेंद्रिय और 11वें मन के साथ, उसी को बोलते हैं एकादशी.
It's described that mind is the main sense
Yes.
that we need to control, and by engaging in Krishna service, when we do that, senses